The promo between Roman Reigns and CM Punk on Raw last night was supposed to be the moment this feud locked in. Two of the sharpest talkers in the business, WrestleMania on the horizon, everything pointing towards something people would be clipping and sharing for weeks. And for stretches it was working, right up until it ended. Punk punched Roman, the segment closed. And instead of the internet losing its mind over a great piece of television, the reaction right now is mostly people trying to figure out exactly where it went wrong. The answer, weirdly enough, comes down to one word: old. Roman called Punk old, Punk snapped and threw the punch. If the insult that finally breaks CM Punk, after everything Roman threw at him in that segment, is "you're old," you have to ask who that's actually landing for and what it's landing on. When you call the WWE champion old, you're not just talking about CM Punk, the person. You're calling into question the title he's carrying. Punk is the reason people are supposed to care about WrestleMania season right now, and the title carries weight specifically because of who's holding it. When Roman stands across from him, and the best shot he can land is that this guy is past his prime and basically on borrowed time, that doesn't just affect how you see Punk, it affects how you see the championship sitting on his shoulder. You're telling the audience your top title is held by someone who doesn't deserve it anymore, and unintentionally burying everyone that said champion fought against to win that championship and those he defended it against. So Jay, Finn Balor, and Braun Breaker. All are also called weak and ineffective, as they couldn't beat an old man. At that point, the whole show is quietly undermining itself, and it doesn't stop at Punk. Everything he's done to rebuild himself to this position takes the same hit. All those matches and programs that got him back here are now carrying a question mark, because the guy who was about to challenge for the title just told you the champion is old and diminished. You don't get to walk that back with a WrestleMania match. It just quietly sits with people, even if they're not actively processing it, and nobody gets anything useful out of planting that idea in their heads. Roman should be making Punk feel like the most dangerous man he's ever stepped in front of, and then explaining why he's still gonna win. That's how both people walk out of a segment looking like they belong on that stage. The audience was already doing the work to make this program believable, and that's what makes the choice so costly. Punk came back to WWE, and yeah, people could see he was a step slower in the ring. His injury history was hard to look past completely, but they chose to look past it anyway, because Punk on the mic is still appointment television, and wrestling has always asked you to suspend a certain amount of disbelief in exchange for a good story. Fans were actively choosing not to think about the mileage on that body, about how long it'd been since he was genuinely operating at full capacity, because the program was interesting enough to make it worth setting aside. Roman just pointed a spotlight directly at the thing the audience was graciously choosing not to look at and got nothing back for the trade. You broke the spell, and all you got in exchange was a closing punch that could have been motivated by literally anything else. Once you've said it out loud, you can't unsay it. Casual fans who weren't thinking about Punk's age at all are now thinking about it because Roman Reigns just told them to. The better weapon was right there. Roman had something that would have genuinely changed how people thought about the WrestleMania match. Something with real teeth, and he left it sitting on the table. The word he was looking for was fragile. Punk's injury history is there for anyone to use. He tore his tricep on his return to WWE at the Royal Rumble in 2024. Before that, in AEW, he tore his other tricep at All Out, hurt his foot after winning the title from Hangman Page. There's a pattern there of a guy whose body keeps failing him at the highest profile moments, and everyone in that building knows it. Roman doesn't even need to pin him to win the championship. He just needs to be in the same ring long enough for Punk's body to do what it keeps doing. Old is a number Punk can shrug at. The injury history is specific and documented, and Roman can point to exact moments. It makes you wonder whether Punk's body holds together long enough to even get to WrestleMania, let alone win there. That's a genuinely threatening thought, one that would have gotten under Punk's skin in a way that actually makes sense. Because it's not just a dig, it's true, and Punk knows it's true, and having Roman say it calmly in front of that crowd is a different kind of threat than anything else in that segment came close to. There's also just the basic question of who's saying it. Roman is 40 years old. Punk is 47. Both men are in their 40s, separated by 7 years. And we're supposed to believe that the insult that finally breaks CM Punk, a man who has spent his entire career saying exactly what he thinks to the wrong people at the worst possible times, is getting called old by someone who's barely a generation behind him. That line stings when it comes from someone 25 and rising, someone who genuinely represents the next wave coming for your spot. When it comes from another guy in his 40s, it's just a weird thing to say. The crowd felt it. It sat oddly in the room because it was an odd thing to say, and no amount of great delivery fixes a line that just doesn't make sense on its face. That's what's frustrating about this segment. It didn't fail because these two can't deliver. They obviously can. This feud has produced some genuinely sharp television. It failed because whoever put your old in that spot either didn't think through what it does to Punk's credibility as champion, or didn't think through who was saying it and why that matters. And the thing about a mistake like that is it doesn't just affect the one promo. 2 weeks out from WrestleMania, you want people going into that match believing Punk has a real shot at walking out with the title. Instead, you've got people quietly asking whether they should take him seriously because his own feud just told them not to. Roman had every tool he needed to make this a segment people talk about for months. He just picked the wrong one.